The red sky above Kethvara burned with falling ash. Giant metal ships hung in the air like hungry insects, tearing apart everything below them. These were the Vorthok Empire's harvester ships, and they had come to take everything. Commander Park. Hyenwu stood on the bridge of the space station called Vigilance. He watched the computer screens showing strange signals coming from the dying planet. His hands gripped the metal rail as he saw what was happening down there. "Sir, something is wrong," said Lieutenant Kim Sora. Her voice shook as she looked. At her screen, "We are getting mind messages from the Kethvari people. They are asking for help. They are all being killed." Park's face grew dark. The Kethvari were peaceful people with blue skin who had never fought a war. They grew food on their green world and shared it with many other planets. They were kind and gentle, using their mind powers only to talk to each other and help their crops grow. But now their cities were on fire. The Vorthok soldiers walked through the streets, killing everyone they found. They took all the food, all the metal, all the water. They left only dead bodies and empty ground behind them. "Show me," Park said quietly, the big screen in front of him lit up with images from Kethvara. Park saw blue-skinned children running from burning houses. He saw old Kethvari trying to hide in caves while metal machines dug them out. He saw families holding each other as the sky rained death from above. The mind messages from the Kethvari filled the air around the space station. Even though humans could not hear thoughts like the Kethvari could, their pain was so strong that it came through their machines. "Help us," the voices seemed to cry. "Please, someone help us. We have done nothing wrong. We only wanted to grow food and live in peace." Park closed his eyes. For 200 years, humans had stayed away from the big galactic wars. Earth had built its own ships and kept to its own space. Other alien races fought each other, but humans said it was not their problem. But this was different. This was not a war between soldiers. This was killing innocent people just because they were weak. Suddenly, the air above the bridge began to glow. A man appeared there, but he was not really there. It was a hologram message from far away. The man was Admiral Lee Jinho, the leader. Of all Earth's space forces, Admiral Lee looked old and tired. His face had lines from many years of hard choices. His uniform was perfect, but his eyes showed the weight he carried. "Commander Park," Admiral Lee said. His voice was serious and strong. "The Terran Defense Coalition has met. We have talked about what is happening on Kethvara. We have made our choice." Park stood straight. He knew this moment would change everything. "What are your orders, sir?" "We will help them," Admiral Lee said. "We will not let this happen while we watch and do nothing. The Earth Council has voted. We will fight." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. For the first time in 200 years, humans would go to war with aliens. They would leave their safe space and fight in the big galaxy. "Sir," said Lieutenant Kim Sora, "the Vorthok Empire is very strong. They have conquered 40 star systems. They have thousands of ships and millions of soldiers." Admiral Lee nodded. "Yes, they are strong. They have never fought humans before. They think we are weak because we stay hidden. They think we are afraid." His eyes became hard like stone. "They are wrong." Dark. Felt something cold move through his body. He had heard stories about the old Earth wars before humans went to space. He knew what his people could do when they decided to fight. "The Kethvari are dying right now," Admiral Lee continued. "Every minute we wait, more innocent people die. I am sending you the fleet commands. You will lead the first strike force." "Understood, sir," Park replied. "What about the other galactic powers? What will they say when humans start fighting?" Admiral Lee's face became like iron. "Let them say what they want." The Kethvari called for help. No one else answered, so we will answer. The hologram disappeared, leaving the bridge in darkness for a moment. Then the lights came back on, and Park saw his crew looking at him with fear and excitement in their eyes. "You heard the Admiral," Park said loudly. "Send the signal to all Earth ships in this sector. Tell them to prepare for war." He looked at the screen showing the burning planet below. The Kethvari prayed to the stars for someone to save them. He turned to face his crew, and they saw something dangerous in his eyes. Time to show them what happens when humans answer prayers. Space station began to move as Earth's war machine woke up after 200 years of sleep. Soon, the Vorthok Empire would learn that some sleeping giant should never be awakened. Commander the Sanal of the Vorthok Empire sat in his command chair, looking at numbers on his screen. The numbers showed how much food and metal his ships had taken from the dying planet below. Soon Kethvara would be empty, and his harvest ships would move to the next world. Dexanol was not like a human. He looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and sharp teeth. His skin was black and shiny like a beetle. His eyes were red and could see in the dark. He had killed the people of 6 worlds, and he felt nothing about it. Commander said his officer, "We will finish taking everything in 2 more days. Then we can leave this place." Dexanol nodded. Good, the Kethvari were too weak to fight back. Easy work. He made a sound like clicking teeth, which was how his people laughed. But then something impossible happened. The space in front of their ships began to bend and twist. Lines of light appeared like cracks in glass. The air itself seemed to break apart. "What is that?" Dexunal shouted, jumping from his chair. 17 huge ships came out of the broken space. They were bigger than anything Dexunal had ever seen. They were gray and black, covered with guns and weapons that looked like nothing in the galaxy. These were human ships, but they looked like metal monsters. Possible. Dexanal hissed through his sharp teeth. Humans are weak. They just learned to fly between stars. They hide in their small corner of space like scared animals. His officers ran around the bridge, checking their screens and weapons. They had never seen ships like these before. The human ships moved like wolves, spreading out to surround the Vorthok fleet. On the biggest human ship, called the Retribution, Admiral Song Minjon stood looking out at the alien ships. He was a tall man with gray hair and hard eyes. Spent 30 years in Earth's space navy, but he had never fought aliens before. Today, that would change. "Sir," said his officer, "we count 57 Vorthok ships. They are bigger than ours, but we have better weapons." Admiral Song nodded. He pressed a button that would send his voice to every ship in the area, including the alien ones. "This is Admiral Song of the Terran Defense Coalition," he said in a calm voice. "You have 30 seconds to stop killing people and leave this place, or we will treat you as our enemies." On the Vorthok command ship, Dexanol heard the human words. He made the clicking sound again, but this time it was angry. "Not happy? Humans dare to give us orders?" he said to his officers. "Show them what happens when weak creatures challenge the Vorthok Empire." The alien ships turned their biggest guns toward the human fleet. Bright blue fire shot out from their weapons. The plasma beams were hot enough to melt metal and could destroy most ships in seconds. But when the blue fire hit the human ships, something strange happened. The fire just disappeared. The human ships had shields that the aliens had never seen before. Not one human ship was hurt. Admiral Song looked at his watch. 30 seconds are up, he said quietly. Then he spoke to his fleet. "All ships, you may fire." What happened next was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships did not fight like other races. They did not try to be honorable or fair. They fought to win, and they fought to kill. Long metal rods shot out of the human ships, moving so fast they were almost invisible. When they hit the alien ships, they went through their shields like the shields were not there. The rods were so fast and so hard that they tore holes in the alien ships. Bright red beams came from other human weapons. These beams cut through the alien ships like hot knives through butter. The alien shields that had protected them for 100 years meant nothing against human weapons. Then came the small fighters. Hundreds of tiny ships poured out of the human fleet. But these fighters had no pilots. They were controlled by a computer, minds that could think faster than any living being. They flew in perfect groups, attacking the alien ships from all sides. "Shields down," shouted a Vorthok officer. "They are cutting us apart." That Sinel watched in horror as his mighty fleet was destroyed. Ships that had conquered worlds were breaking, apart like toys. His soldiers, who had never known fear, were screaming in terror. How? He whispered. Can they be so strong? The answer was simple. While other races had spent centuries fighting each other in the same old ways, humans had stayed hidden and built new weapons. They had learned from every war in their history. They had made ships and weapons that no one else could imagine. In 23 minutes, it was over. 57 Vorthok ships became floating pieces of metal. Only 3 ships escaped, running away as fast as they could. The few surviving Vorthok soldiers spread the word across the galaxy. The humans were not hiding anymore. They were coming, and they were more dangerous than anyone had dreamed. Age of Human War had begun. The news traveled fast across the galaxy. In 3 days, everyone knew what had happened at Kethvara. The mighty Vorthok Empire, who had ruled 40 star systems for 300 years, had been beaten by humans. Many alien races could not believe it. On the Vorthok homeworld, Emperor Vextar called his war leaders together. He was the biggest and strongest of his kind, with 6 arms and teeth like knives. His red eyes burned with anger. Impossible. He roared, his voice shaking the metal walls. Humans are nothing. They are weak creatures who hide in their small corner of space. How can they defeat my fleet? His generals looked at each other with fear. They had all heard the reports from the survivors. The human ships were like nothing they had ever seen. Their weapons cut through Vorthok shields like paper. Great Emperor, said General Krixvolume, maybe we should talk to them. We can make peace. Emperor Vextar's eyes became like fire. Peace with humans. Never. We will gather every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. We will crush these insects and show the galaxy that no one challenges the Vorthok Empire. Orders went out across 40 worlds. Every Vorthok ship was called home. Every soldier was told to prepare for the biggest war their empire had ever fought. They would send 10,000 ships against the humans. Surely that would be enough. But the humans were not waiting. Captain Choi Hyjin stood on the bridge of her warship, looking at the planet Mortex below. This was one of the strongest Vorthok worlds, protected by space stations and fighter ships. Ma'am, said Lieutenant Park Jamin, we count 200. Enemy ships defending the planet. They have big guns on the ground too. Captain Choi was a small woman with short black hair and cold eyes. She had studied every battle in human history. She knew that sometimes you had to be cruel to be kind. Begin bombardment, she ordered. The human ships opened fire from space. But these were not the same weapons they had used before. These were bigger, stronger, designed to destroy entire cities. Bright beams fell from the sky like rain, hitting the alien weapons on the ground. The Vorthok tried to fight back, but their weapons could not reach the human ships. The humans stayed far away in space, raining death from above. In 2 hours, every gun on the planet was destroyed. Shields down, enemy weapons destroyed, reported Lieutenant Park. The planet is helpless. Now came the part that made other alien races afraid. Human soldiers flew down from the ships in small craft. These soldiers wore metal suits that made them look like robots. They carried guns that could melt through alien armor. The Vorthok had always fought with honor. When 2 alien armies met, they would line up and fight face to face. The strongest would win, and the losers would be treated with respect. But humans did not fight that way. They came from all sides at once. They used tricks and traps. They hit the enemy where they were weakest. They did not stop until every enemy was dead or had given up. On the big human ship called Retribution, some of the blue-skinned Kethvari watched the battle on screens. They had come to thank the humans for saving their world. But now they were seeing something that scared them. Elder Veltara, the oldest and wisest of the Kethvari, stood next to Admiral Song. She watched as human soldiers moved through the alien city below, destroying everything in their path. Your people fight like devils, she whispered, her blue face pale with fear. Admiral Song did not look away from the screen. His face was like stone. No, he said quietly. We fight like humans. There is a difference. What difference? Elder Veltara asked. Devils fight because they enjoy pain, Admiral Song replied. We fight to end it. The Vorthok killed innocent people. They destroyed worlds full of families and children. We will make sure they never do it again." On the planet below, the Vorthok soldiers were learning what it meant to fight humans. Every time they tried to make a stand, the humans found a way around them. Every time they tried to retreat, the humans were already waiting. The Vorthok commander, On Mortex, sent a message to his emperor: "We cannot stop them. They fight like machines. They show no mercy to anyone who has killed innocent people." But the humans did show mercy to those who had not committed crimes. When they found Vorthok civilians, they did not hurt them. When they found prisoners from other worlds, they set them free. They only killed those who had chosen to be killers. And one day, the planet Mortex fell. The Vorthok stronghold that had stood for 200 years was gone. And this was just the beginning. News of the battle spread across the galaxy again. Other alien races began to understand. Humans were not just another warrior species. They were something new and terrible. They fought not for glory or treasure, but to protect the innocent. The Vorthok Empire had expected a war. Instead, they were getting something much worse. They were getting justice, delivered with human efficiency and human determination. And the humans were just getting started. The final battle began on a cold morning in space. Around the Vorthok homeworld called Vorthok Prime, the biggest space fight in galactic history was about to start. But this time, the humans were not alone. Ships from 20 different alien races floated in space next to the human fleet. There were the green-skinned Zilani, whose children had been stolen by Vorthok slave traders. There were the rock-like, granite people, whose mining worlds had been destroyed for their metals. There were even some Kethvari ships, though they were small and only carried supplies. All of these races had suffered under Vorthok rule. They had come to fight beside the humans who had given them hope. Admiral Song stood on his ship, looking at the enemy planet below. It was a dark world covered in black metal cities. This was where the Vorthok Empire had ruled from for 1,000 years. This was where they had planned the death of so many innocent people. "Sir," said his officer, "we count 3,000 enemy ships. They have pulled back every vessel they have left." Admiral Song nodded. The Vorthok had gathered their remaining forces here for one last fight. They knew they were losing the war, but they would not give up easily. Emperor Vextar himself was on the planet below, hidden in a deep bunker under his palace. He had sent messages to every Vorthok in the galaxy: fight to the death, never surrender to the humans. But many of his people were already starting to question him. They had seen what happened to their armies. They had watched their mighty empire crumble in just 6 months. Some were beginning to think that maybe their emperor had been wrong. The battle began at dawn. The Vorthok ships came up from their planet like angry insects, trying to break through the human blockade. Their weapons lit up the darkness of space with blue and green fire, but the humans had learned from every fight. They knew exactly how the Vorthok would attack. They were ready. All ships, execute Plan 7, Admiral Song commanded. The human fleet split into 3 groups. One group met the Vorthok head-on, fighting them with big guns and bright lasers. The second group went around the side, attacking the enemy from an unexpected direction. The third group went straight for the planet itself. The Vorthok had never fought an enemy like this. Other races fought with honor, meeting them in straight battles. But humans fought to win, using every trick and strategy they could think of. For 18 days, the battle raged. Ships exploded in bright flashes. Pieces of metal floated through space like deadly rain. The Vorthok fought hard, but they were fighting a losing battle. On the planet's surface, Colonel Yoon Soo-jin led the ground attack. She was a tough woman who had trained for this moment her whole life. Her soldiers moved through the alien cities like ghosts, destroying military targets and capturing important buildings. "Ma'am," said her communications officer, "the enemy palace is surrounded. Emperor Vextar is trapped inside." Colonel Yoon looked at the huge black building in front of them. It was where the Vorthok Emperor had lived while ordering the death of billions of innocent people. Now it was about to fall. "Begin bombardment," she ordered. Human artillery guns fired at the palace walls. The building shook and cracked. Windows shattered. The mighty palace that had stood for centuries began to fall apart. Inside his bunker, Emperor Vextar watched his empire die. His advisors ran around in panic, but there was nothing they could do. The humans had won. "Great Emperor," said one of his generals, "we must surrender. If we keep fighting, they will kill us all." Vextar's red eyes burned with hate. "Never. I will not bow to humans." But even as he spoke, he knew it was over. His armies were beaten. His cities were burning. His people were dying for a war they could not win. High above in space, Admiral Song received a message from the planet below. The Vorthok High Command wanted to talk. The alien leaders appeared on his screen, but they looked very different now. Their proud faces were filled with fear. Their shiny armor was cracked and dirty. They no longer looked like the mighty conquerors they had been. "Human Admiral," said their spokesman, "we wish to discuss terms." Admiral Song's face was like ice. "You have no terms to discuss. You have one choice. Give up completely. Pay back everything you stole. End your empire forever. Or we will destroy every world you ever touched." The threat was not empty. The humans had shown they could do exactly what they promised. They had the weapons and the will to turn entire planets into glass. The Vorthok leaders looked at each other with terror. They had ruled through fear for so long, but now they were the ones who were afraid. We accept," their spokesman whispered. "Good," Admiral Song replied. "Begin surrender protocols." And so the Vorthok Empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years, came to an end. Not in glory, but in fear and shame. The humans had shown the galaxy that even the strongest bullies could be stopped. The age of Vorthok terror was over. The great city of Vorthok Prime was in ruins. Where once proud towers had reached toward the stars, now only broken metal and smoking holes remained. In the largest building that still stood, leaders from across the galaxy had come together for a meeting that would change everything. Admiral Song walked through the broken streets, his boots crunching on pieces of glass and metal. Behind him came representatives from dozens of alien races. They had all suffered under Vorthok rule. Now they were free. Inside the damaged building, tables had been set up in a great circle. Aliens of every shape and size sat around them. There were the blue-skinned Kethvari, the rock-like granite people, the tall, thin Zilani, and many others. All of them looked at Admiral Song with respect and fear. Elder Veltara of the Kethvari stood up slowly. She was very old, and the war had made her look even older. In her forearms, she carried a box made of crystal and gold. Inside the box were treasures beyond imagination. "Great Admiral Song," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "You saved our people when we thought all hope was lost. You answered our prayers when no one else would listen." She opened the box, and light poured out like liquid starfire. Inside were gems that could power entire cities, metals rarer than anything in the galaxy, and technologies that could make a poor world rich overnight. "Name your price for our salvation," Elder Veltara continued. "We offer you anything. Our worlds can be yours. Our technology can serve you. Our people can work for you forever. Just tell us what you want." Other alien leaders nodded and brought forward their own gifts. The granite people offered mountains of precious stones. The Zilani brought weapons that could destroy planets. Everyone wanted to pay the humans back for saving them, but Admiral Song looked at all these treasures and shook his head. "We don't want your worlds," he said quietly. "We want your word." The aliens looked confused. Elder Veltara's eyes widened. "Our word. Do you mean?" Admiral Song walked to the center of the circle. "Promise us that you will never let this happen again. Promise us that if you see innocent people being hurt, you will try to help them. Promise us that you will work together to keep bullies from hurting the weak." The room became very quiet. Many of the aliens had never thought this way before. They had always believed that the strong should rule the weak. But the humans were teaching them something different. "You want us to protect others?" asked a granite leader, "even if they are not our people?" "Yes," Admiral Song replied, "because if we don't protect the innocent, who will?" And so the Terran Covenant was written. It was not a treaty that made Humans, the rulers of the galaxy. It was a promise that no species would ever face extinction alone again. The humans would patrol the dark corners of space, watching for bullies and protecting the helpless. Many alien races signed the covenant that day. They promised to help when innocent people were in danger. They promised to work together instead of fighting each other. Most importantly, they promised to never let another empire like the Vorthok grow strong by hurting others. 6 months later, Captain Kim Nara stood on the bridge of her ship, the Guardian. She was young for a ship captain, but she had proven herself in the war against the Vorthok. Now she led the first human patrol fleet, carrying the message of the Covenant to distant worlds. "Ma'am," said her officer, "we're receiving a distress signal from the Outer Rim. A small colony is being attacked by pirates." Captain Kim nodded. "Set course for the colony. Maximum speed." This was the new way. When someone called for help, humans would answer. They would come with their fast ships and powerful weapons. They would protect the innocent and punish those who hurt them, as the Guardian jumped into hyperspace. Captain Kim thought about how much had changed. A year ago, most aliens had never heard of humans. Now, human ships patrolled the galaxy, and the sight of Earth's flag meant safety to billions of people. The humans had learned something important during the war. They were good at fighting, but they were even better at protecting. Other races conquered because they wanted power or wealth. Humans fought because they couldn't stand to see innocent people suffer. Word spread across the galaxy. Earth was watching. In the darkest corners of space, on the smallest and weakest worlds, people knew that if they were in danger, they could call for help. And help would come. The age of genocide was ending, not because aliens had suddenly become nice, but because humanity had decided it would end. The humans had appointed themselves as the galaxy's protectors, as they had the ships and weapons to make it work. Some alien races complained that humans were too aggressive, too quick to fight, but the weak and innocent peoples of the galaxy didn't care about that. They only cared that someone was finally watching out for them. The Kethvari had prayed for salvation, and Earth had answered with steel and fire. Now that same steel and fire would protect anyone who needed it. The galaxy had learned that humans were dangerous to those who hurt others, but they were the best friends that good people could ever have.